CNBC TV18, Adobe present Experience Makers.
Hello and welcome to Adobe and CNBC TV18 present Experience Makers, where today we're going to have an insightful discussion on monetizing the commerce journey. And joining us today to discuss just that, especially in this digital age, what are the solutions which are available and what are the challenges being faced by brands and conglomerates in particular, we have two very interesting guests who are joining us on this session. Let me introduce them to you. We have with us Anup Nair, who's Vice President of Marketing at JSW Steel. And also joining him is Arvind Rego, who is the Head of Strategic Conglomerates at Adobe. Gentlemen, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have two industry leaders who are really domain experts to join us and share with us their insights about how to navigate this dynamic landscape of commerce in the digital era. What are the strategies which are working for them? What may not work? Lots of questions. Let's delve straight away into the conversation. So, Anup, thank you once again for joining us. Now, in this digital world, so to speak, it's a bit of a bewildering world because, and in your case, being a conglomerate, it's quite a complex world, perhaps more so than, say, single brand companies and product companies. Tell us how you have sort of approached your strategy when it comes to product differentiation and especially using these kind of digital tools which are available to connect with the customer.
Thank you, Paramita. And as you rightly mentioned, a larger conglomerate, and with our flagship product being the JSW Steel product slash brand. Every industry comes with its own set of complexities. Traditional industries, the ones I'd like to refer to as brick and mortar industries, come with their own set of influencers, if I may call it. And steel, for example, there is a certain journey that the consumer has to traverse as far as the purchase for steel is concerned. Compared to an FMCG product, there would be a slightly for a retail consumer, this product or the brand would be slightly away from him, and then the influencer, who's the middleman, plays a key role. You need to get a roofing sheet installed, or you need to get your house constructed. Your civil contractor becomes a critical part of it. Your fabricator becomes a critical part of it. So our digital strategy overall, if you see, in our objective to become a more consumer focused and consumer centric company, will also factor in these people, these influencers, and reaching out to them and becoming their product of choice is also critical for us. So that's one part that's very important. And clearly, as far as product differentiation, etc., is concerned, yes, there are significant insights that we get from various quarters. I would right away jump into an example, with regard to what happened very recently. In fact, during COVID, something as simple and ubiquitous as a roofing sheet. I'm sure roofing sheets are common. We've all seen them. So COVID led to this whole wave of sanitization, of going germ free. In fact, JSW Steel at the time, owing to obviously consumer feedback and inputs in the market, we came up with an antimicrobial roofing sheet, where vaccine storage houses and such facilities could use these sheets. So something as simple as a requirement for overall hygiene and sanitization could get translated into a specific product for that category. And today, that's not just related to XYZ vaccine. Overall, for the pharma industry, this product or this range of antimicrobial roofing sheets and solutions has really picked up. So that's one, just a very top of the mind example of how customer feedback has led to product innovation.
Absolutely, and it's a fascinating example, and let me toss that across because there are challenges and opportunities in what Anup just shared with us, Arvind. When it comes to a business as complex, and here you have several customers in the pipeline. I mean, most of us will not really know about the kind of steel that goes into our homes, or even the kind of products which are made by JSW Steel. But so, how do the digital tools which are available today present brands and companies such as JSW Steel with opportunities to really, mine the kind of returns and business returns they're looking for?
So thank you, Paramita. Yeah, very pertinent question. What Anup had referred to, and even typically talking about the use case that he spoke about, like, right. So it's very important for brands like, let's say, JSW Steel, which is typically a brick and mortar industry, to reach out to consumers, right? You need to get your mind share with the consumers. You need to get a mind share with the influencers who play a very strong role in this ecosystem, right? And how do you reach out and get your message across both these audiences? Both are very diverse and both have very different, unique requirements. So you typically, I don't know what steel goes into my building my home, right? But it's a very important aspect from that perspective, because I want that assurance that my home is made of really good quality steel. So as a consumer, I would prefer a good branded steel. While at the same time, the influencer, let's say the contractor who's building my home, or let's say the person who's doing up my place, right? It could be a painter, it could be anyone who's influencing that decision, to whom I'm outsourcing the complete project, right? He has a very strong say, because he can influence my mind, my decision, and every aspect of that part, right? So for a brand like JSW Steel, it's very critical that they get their brand sold out to the audience and the consumer, who's the end customer here in this particular case, and also gets that same messaging or the appropriate messaging done to the influencer, so that the influencer aligns to that market message and plays ball along with the brand, right? So in this particular case, you want to give the brand, you want to give the influencer the messaging which talks about, let's say, where is the sorry, where the product is available, how you can get access to stock quantity, the specific aspects of the applicability of the product, or he talks about how it will be serviced, etc. While if I'm talking to a consumer, it is more about giving the assurance that this product is going to stand the test of time, right? Now for brands like JSW Steel, it's very difficult to manage content at that level and that scale, and that's where personalization really plays a very key part. To get that, depending and knowing who's your audience, you send your messaging according to them, and you're able to articulate and give the right contextual message to them, basis of the profile the person is, or what needs his person is looking at, right? So like the example he spoke about, right? Being in a pharma industry, I'll be, if I'm a consumer from a pharma industry, I'm very particular about you know what really goes into constructing the plants, right? While at the same time, if the same individual is building up his own home, it really doesn't this factor might not matter to him, right? But still the brand matters to him. So depending on the need, depending on the requirement, your messaging varies, though the individual might be the same. And that's why it's very crucial to understand in which context is he trying to reach out to you as a brand, in which what is the need of the requirement, and from which platform is he also reaching out to you, so accordingly you can connect. And that's where brands like Adobe really come into play, to help you manage your content depending on the insights that you've shared with the customers, with the brands, in terms of the requirement, etc. They are able to articulate and give you the right message, so that whole ecosystem plays up according to this.
Indeed, because the managing content and getting the right content across, that hyper personalization, which is what everyone's talking about. I mean, Anup, what were, for instance, share with us in your journey? We spoke about customer insights, and that of course hopefully will lead to those kind of leads that most companies are looking for, and hence which will also get converted into some sort of revenue benefit. Share with us some perhaps examples of customer insights that you gained using perhaps new solutions and newer technologies.
Yeah, Paramita, more than I would say new technology, I think there is something very interesting that just recently happened. So we in steel there is a significant amount of let's say one significant component of our business is tin packaging. It's again something all of us come across in our daily lives. Tin cans are used as soft drink cans, correct? Confectionaries, chocolates, paint cans. So tin is fairly again commonplace. Now, the edible oil business uses a lot of tin. Yeah, we are all consumers of it, and so in local parlance we call them pipa. The big barrels of edible oil. So the edible oil industry, it's significantly big in terms of the organized market, and also there's a huge underbelly of unorganized business as well. Now, there are multiple intermediaries here. So as a primary producer, we sell to a can maker, who in turn then sells it to an edible oil company who manufactures, packages, and then markets the product. Now, in this industry, what has been noticed over the years, and it's probably a huge problem as well, is that the cans are getting reused, not recycled, reused. So edible oil, largely, you finish consuming in one cycle, and then the whole thing comes back into the ecosystem through a local player or whatever. And the kind of health hazards that this poses is significant. Now, at some point, a lot of market information came to us through the media, through online, etc., and then we saw that there was a lot of backlash. And at the end of the day, since there were multiple players involved, there was a sense of lack of accountability on who would take up the onus. So JSW, we decided to then take on that responsibility, and then we've gone on to the extent of setting up logistics to collect these cans from those markets, from the mandis, send them for reprocessing, tied up with those reprocessing centers, and then ensure that the entire thing is recycled and then brought back into the system as steel. Now, this has led to a lot of significant, I would say, goodwill and brand value, of course. But I would say it's a good case of how market insights and information, from different sources. There was an end consumer who faced issues due to it. There were activists who felt that yes, this is just a public nuisance or an issue. And then in the supply chain, there were these intermediary players, who were making some money out of maybe even doing this malpractice. So there was a systemic change, and I think information at various points could be captured. And though as a primary producer, we could have as well stepped back from that responsibility. I think, as a also as a responsible corporate, we decided to then go in and take that onus to set this practice right. So that's one example I can share right away
And
of
that's
how.
really a fascinating example, because you've actually given us a sense of how from information from various points have come together, given you those insights, and hence you were able to drive this sort of like a campaign, and hence build that kind of increase your brand value as well. Because that brings me to the next point, and actually it's just an extension of the point that Anup has just shared, because there are so many points of information which are being generated, and I would assume that most companies and brands would want all that information to sort of reside and come together and build up those kind of cohesive insights, right? Would you say, Arvind, I mean, that's something that can be done far more effectively now?
Definitely, Paramita. So today's age, the ability for a brand to collect information. So the information has always been there in some sort of form in various ecosystem, either within our own ecosystem or partner ecosystems. It is a question of the ability to bring all the data together and stitch them together throughout, right? In this particular case, what we're talking of is more primarily the example that Anup really spoke about is more like a supply chain kind of a requirement, right? Where you got data lying in different points, you want to collect all of them together, and then be able to take an action or basis those those insights that you really get from their perspective. From an Adobe perspective, from a digital ecosystem that typically that we do is we help the brand build up its own digital, let's say, complete fingerprint, let's say, of a consumer, right? So in this particular example, I like, for example, is like, if you've got yeah, whenever you go onto any website, you go to app, you use anything, like you leave data crumbs, you leave fingerprints here and there, right? Now, how do you stitch all of this time based, etc., in real time, so that brands can take a particular decision based on that? You can send the messaging according to that, right? Let's say, for example, today Adobe works with brands globally across every spectrum and every industry, like let's say talking about from Nike to Coca-Cola, right? Or you talk about from Lenovo to Virgin Atlantic. We work with brands across different industries and across different sectors, and we help brands do exactly this from a digital perspective. Like let's say, for example, if you talk about a simple thing that's going around in the travel and tourism industry, right? Where we're talking about a leading airline is basically wanting to look at, understand what is the content that you see on the in-flight entertainment screen. I able to profile you basis according to that, so that next time you're on a flight, I'm able to give you recommendations according to your genre, according to the interest that you really show upon. Or you talk about, let's say, a banking industry, right? At any point of time, as a consumer for a bank, the bank has multitude of offers to give it to you, right? Could be a credit card offer, could be a personal loan, could be a could be a car loan, home loan. They've got a multitude of offers, even from a banking perspective. Now the question is, which offer do I give to the consumer and at what time, right? If I just give you a whole laundry list of it, the efficacy of the whole system is lost, right? So there is a whole strategy around deciding which offer should go to whom, the decision based on that, and then how do I deliver that offer to the right person at the right time. So the offer that will come to you and me, though if we might belong to the same category within the bank, we might have different offers from the bank, right? So that whole decision making is based on, let's say, the various data points that you've got, your consumption patterns, your maybe interest you've exposed to when you were speaking to a CRM or to a call center. How do you get data from all of these various insights, stitch them together so that I can really make each message out to you that is relevant and contextual to your requirements? So there are multitude of examples. Even if I look at from like what we were talking earlier from a home
In
building
fact,
perspective.
let me take this point across. You know, what you mentioned is you're picking up all these data crumbs and really stitching them together. Because in your case, Anup, as you mentioned, you had your influencers, you had your end consumers, entities in the B2B space, and of course the B2C arena as well. So, uh, but at the same time, conglomerates such as yours, and there are many companies in this space, usually have their data residing in silos. And correct me if I'm wrong. So, in that sense, um, when given some of the natural synergies that exist by using platforms such as the ones that Arvind just shared with us, at the same time it is a bit of a challenge. I mean, how have you been able to navigate where you are correctly picking up those crumbs, identifying where they're coming from, and building it all up into a cohesive strategy?
Yeah. No, so Paramita, that's definitely a challenge. Like I said, if I were to just put it, simply, the objective is also to deliver, delivering experiences, which are there across channels into a common, a common pool, if I were to say so. For example, we have within steel, for example, there is a long steel team, and then there is a flats and longs are just say two different categories. Or for example, downstream products, are those which are probably more uh, end consumerish to that extent. So there are different, for very empirically, if I were to say, there are different websites available. There is different content available. Within these, you have various industry level applications between these categories. You've got a B2B and a B2C component within each, right? So when one is looking at a product like steel, which can go anywhere. In fact, our last campaign was called "Always Around." Starting from airports to rockets to something as simple as a tin can. All this encompasses what steel is. So what that means is you've got a whole bunch or a whole host of end users, different influencers, and different set of decision makers. In retail, that could be one set. In the OEM or the B2B business, it could be something else. So our objective is hence to manage and sort of synergize and channelize these various experiences, and hence make communication. I'm just going back to what Arvind also said.
And how
So that's what.
successful would you say that you've been so far?
Yeah, so at this point, a lot of it is still managed in groups. I wouldn't want to use the term silo, because obviously there is a certain integration between these various groups. But yes, there is a significant difference in the way communication to a B2C consumer goes in, because like I was telling you, the consumer journey and the distance this product or the brand has for a retail consumer as opposed to a B2B consumer is different. And hence the language that he understands with regard to how, for example, as an end user, I may not be very close to a product like steel. As even within building materials, a paint is another category I may be closer to, because I am very much actively involved in color selection. So
Correct.
something which a paint company can offer to me in terms of choosing colors for my room, or if I have a visualization software, or I'm an architect who's designing a home, and I need to probably see different specialty finishes on a wall. Those things will matter to me a lot more. There's a certain degree of personalization involved, as opposed to if I'm building a house and I'm looking for cement or I'm looking for steel. I'm likely to be an engineer, or I'm likely to be a civil contractor, wherein for me my product specifications could mean a lot more as opposed to the look and feel. So I would also say that every business will have to cater to and design those tools that touch these various stakeholders and touch points. But yes, going back to the earlier point, our endeavor would be to then bring them all together, and have that common platform through which you can reach out to different people. That's the way I see it from an end consumer perspective. Yeah.
So you're trying to bring them all together, but at the same time, customize content for very different sort of consumers along the way and in different segments. So, Arvind, data, and we speak a lot about that. And, there's a data deluge at one level. There's also data is being seen as the new oil. But it's sort of perhaps since today we're talking about the commerce aspect, about really how you can generate revenue out of today's relevant strategies, digital strategies. Um, Utilizing data effectively, and how important is it, and how much of that return on investment are we beginning to see? Because till perhaps a year or a year and a half ago, most companies were scratching their heads, especially in the brick and mortar space, trying to really understand whether it was worth that investment.
So, so what I would say is, Paramita, is, e-commerce and the data-driven economy, right? They offer an immense opportunity for us to boost innovation and growth. They cut trade barriers typically, and also, directly accelerate social and economic development. It gives the digital has been a big boon from that perspective, and helps you get a message across to different people, and make it more relevant, right? So when you look at the B2B industry especially, right, what if you look at any consumer who's there, he is getting influenced by an experience which could be being delivered through Uber, or it could be any of the food delivery apps. It could be all of things, and it is very natural for them to want to expect that sort of an experience in any business that they do, right? Any every business. So when you look at it, when you look at the way the B2B businesses have been changing completely, right? It is about wanting to reach out to a consumer. If I'm running a B2B business, I want to enable self-service. I really don't want to put a lot of people behind it. There are rate cards which are fixed typically. So I want to enable self-service from a B2B perspective and bring in more efficiencies, help them choose their, let's say, this fulfillment could be through a distributor or other resellers, give them the flexibility, and make it more democratic for them to really choose that option. If I'm coming down to the same case, where if it's a brick and mortar industry wanting to go B2C, like we spoke about, we spoke about earlier, what we were talking about, wanting to own the end customer directly, because that's a very critical aspect in today's industry. So if you want to own that part of it, and you really want to build up that ecosystem, it's very critical that you have to have that avenue as well to engage with the end consumer himself. So if the consumer wants to educate himself today, he goes online, he educates himself, he finalizes on a particular brand, but he also wants to exercise that option of wanting to place an order or engage with you directly. Your fulfillment model again could be in the old school way of going through distributors, resellers, etc. But you are still owning the end consumer, and you're building a connection across with them. So the online commerce industry has really helped a lot of these brands break all of these barriers, engage directly with a consumer, and you got all the payment options, you got all the financing options that are still available, that were offline available. Today you're integrating that into it, so you're completing that whole ecosystem and making it available for people to really exercise their options. So that's been a big disruptor, and as well as an enabler, really, if you go to speak to it.
Let me toss this across to Anup. What's been your experience when it comes to e-commerce?
Yeah. So, Paramita, like Arvind said, it's obviously a disruptor. And in our case, I would say, you look at traditional industries, building materials. So certain sectors would be more amenable to it. For example, if I were to say sectors like paints or construction chemicals, and you've got the market leaders who've already started various efforts. They've actually been able to monetize quite a bit through their websites and through e-com outreaches. I think two things. One, of course, being the ticket size is obviously such that it's more amenable to trade online, and B, also that their fulfillment models are such that you have a system in place wherein you are able to also reach to different parts of the country far and wide. So some of those factors have helped these sectors to make the move. Moving on to slightly more traditional sectors, again, cement or steel, I think there is a significant part of ecom that is driving the MSME segment. And here I think the larger users are finding that the ecom model is helping them. One in terms of aggregating demand in certain specific geographies, and also in some of these sectors, logistics is also driven by distance from the place of manufacturing, etc. So you're also able to make local tie-ups, and hence manage the supply chain that way. So in my view, it is something which the industry as a whole is definitely moving to, and certain businesses within the larger building materials and construction industry are probably closer to the consumer, and hence they've been able to make that migration far easier. Yeah.
Right. So some great examples. And, we can't not have a question about generative AI, especially as we begin the new year, because that's all the talk, including at Davos as well this year. Generative AI, a lot is being spoken about it, and especially about the way it's transforming the whole customer experience. Anup, let me start with you before I have the final word from Arvind. You know, what is your estimation of the kind of benefits that generative AI can be used in collaboration, of course, with human effort in terms of the kind of content delivery and engagement with your customer?
No, so Paramita, from our perspective, I think certain functions are obviously more amenable to it. For example, in even within a traditional building materials business, marketing efforts, I think one is seeing the use of generative AI quite a lot. Whether it is in terms of developing or customizing and curating content, looking at things like better UIs and interfaces, better media and content being developed, or even to the extent of things like, I mean, even as something as basic as a chatbot, with regard to how
Right.
customer servicing and engagement is happening or is being driven. So some of these things are where generative AI definitely does play a role. So that's probably at a functional level, with regard to how we would like to engage with customers and reduce that distance between the customer and the influencer and the company. I think those are aspects where generative AI is becoming very effective. And also, I'd say in sectors like ours, content specific, or let's say platform specific content marketing is very important. Wherein
Right.
whereas there is a lot of geo dependent or customer group dependent or segment dependent communication that we need to make. So those platform specific content marketing is something that we do, given the fact that we have multiple categories and multiple businesses. So even there, I think there is a very strong role that generative AI will play in the years to come.
Take that forward, Arvind, because as I said, that is sort of the flavor of perhaps the next few years, if not the decade, about how generative AI, the powers can be harnessed. I mean, anything from speed to market to automation on scale. I mean, give us the kind of benefits, particularly, with the fact that these kind of technologies are quite expensive. And given the suite of products which are available, how would you advise particularly a conglomerate with the kind of complexities of business they have to make those decisions in the use of some of these new AI technologies?
Yep. So Anup did touch upon a few points, right? He spoke about content marketing. He spoke about content creation, chatbots, etc. These are some of the use cases that the generative AI has really thrown up and made enable for people to brands to really consume. The way Adobe looks at it is, the way we are building up in the martech space that we are looking at is that a generative AI will reshape every aspect of the marketing journey, right, from planning to creation to execution, right? So if you, whether it is about increasing or improving your marketing ROI, or we talk about return on advertising spend by optimizing the media mix, right, and resource allocation that you want to do across various platforms, or we talk about, he spoke about, Anu spoke about content creation, right? He touched upon a very valid point in terms of where you're creating content, but depending on the need and the requirement or the region that you're catering to, your messaging might change, right? So you created content at one point of time, and then you got some text on top of it written, and you want to, let's say, play it multilingual, formats for that, or you talk in a content specific, which is like we spoke about, to influencers, to end consumers. Your messaging might change. They use the same asset and really create different, versions of the same thing, which can be used to retarget, right? That's another application that you really can look at. Then you're talking about, when you need to create. Today, you're connecting with consumers across various platforms, from a phone to, let's say, social media, to a desktop, could be a screen, could be any of these assets. And you want to create content across various variations for them, right? Depending on the bandwidth availability, you might even have bandwidth size and variations for each of these content that you create. To point of talking about once you got all of this and you want to send the message out to an audience, how do you select and segment that audience, and how do you select and send that particular content to out of each one? That's personalization at a hyperscale capability, right? And to do that, it's humanly not possible. So run that at scale and in real time perspective. Again, AI and Gen AI capabilities, which are very, very important, which come into the play, right? Whether you're using it to for a marketer, rather than having to sit and slice and dice data, he can just use language learning models and ask, create an audience who came into my properties or showed expressed interest in the last 30 days for this particular category of, let's say, quoted products. And immediately you got an audience created, and you can send out a messaging basis that. Or you talk about now once as a marketer, like, look at it from Anoop's perspective, the way I would say is, when he starts experimenting or sending out a message, sometimes you always as a marketer have got double minds in terms of whether this message stick to my audience, right? So you got two or three versions around it, so you can experiment with those two or three versions in terms of testing and playing around with it and trying to see, let me send out these three messages, let AI and Gen AI take over and say which messaging is really resonating with the audience. The one that resonates, I do more of that, and I do less of the other ones. Even the ones which are getting less traction is still getting tractions in some segments of society, right? So I need to know insights into what is that segment, so that I can actually run a curated segment, campaign or an exercise around them. After do all of this, you want to even analyze, right? Digital gives you a capability to measure whatever experiments you do, and unlike in, let's say, print or TV ads. So you need the whole measurability part of it again to get insights and into see what is it, so their next decision is based on that. So Gen AI is something which has really enabled and ensured that people and consumers can run it at scale and at volume, is something which it's really unlocked a potential out there. There's also one very critical aspect from a content generation that Anup really spoke about, right? When a reputed brand like JSW goes to market with a content, right, it needs to be sure that the content that is created is not violating copyrights or violating permissions of intellectual properties of somebody else. How do you do that, right, when most of the models out there are leveraging content which is available just on to a Google search out there? So that is where again Adobe really plays out. If you will see, Adobe Firefly comes in because it's tested only on the Adobe stock images, so it's got a unique capability which indemnifies and protects the brand from that perspective.
So
So
clearly, the potential, I think, especially of enterprise level Gen AI, is seems to be endless. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface. And Anup, having said that, you will always exist in the brick and mortar space. The world is getting back into the physical domain, as opposed to digital only, which was during the pandemic. Give us your sense of how, as a marketer, you are looking to navigate this space where you can sort of straddle the physical and the online world and use the kind of tools which are available to harness the maximum returns.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Paramita, I think it's like you said, physically, it's the whole the term phygital, comes to mind. Which is something which I think began in retail format stores. Because you saw that in retail format stores, even in the building material space, where consumers could come in, they could get the touch and feel. At the same time, there would be a set of a host of digital tools that would help them to visualize, that would help them to choose colors, choose textures, and in a nutshell, digitally sort of complete their customer journey. In the digital realm. At the same time, be able to physically access those products. So that's one starting point where I think a lot of people in the industry have invested in terms of these format stores targeting the end consumer. And as far as the influencer and the let's say the larger businesses are concerned, yes, I mean, it's not just about as a marketer, yes, it's the communication that you want to send out to them to own that particular consumer. I'd say that for us or for the industry as a whole, The challenge is also, effective communication, to make it customized, to make it regional, and to target the right, target segment with the right communication. Like I told
Right.
you, in especially from the industry that I come in, we have almost a 50-50 split between large users, B2B users or OEM users, and the retail user. And for us, communication for the end consumer, for the retail user, will have to be very strongly, driven by the core values that the brand stands for. It's also investing on the brand proposition and communicate those benefits and advantages that are easy to understand for the retail consumer. Whereas in B2B, it's also about matching up product specifications. It's about matching up commercials and availability. Now, at this point, it's about communicating that message, in the most effective and time effective manner, if I were to put it that way.
Well, I think on that note, we'll have to wrap up this online discussion, because I'm sure there's a lot that Arvind and Anoop, both of you, have to catch up on when it comes to actually discussing the potential of today's digitization, and, of course, all the kind of benefits that it may offer brands and conglomerates such as JSW Steel. There's a lot of give and take out there. But thank you so much, gentlemen. We've completely run out of time, but thank you so much for those wonderful examples that really helped us connect the dots when it comes to the challenges in your space, Anoop, and, of course, the solutions that you deliver, Arvind, coming in from Adobe. Thank you so much for joining us today on this riveting discussion of Adobe and CNBC TV18 present Experience Makers, where today we were discussing monetizing the commerce journey. Thank you for joining us.
CNBC TV18, Adobe present Experience Makers.